Hey guys, this is McDev, and I am doing a quick tutorial on the FreeCodeCamp CSS course. And this is still sort of me doing beta, just testing out the whole streaming process. But if you find this video, I hope it's valuable to you. So we're going to approach this in three parts. We're going to do like an overview of the content. That's the part I struggled with when I went through this the first time, was actually processing what it was telling me to do. And then we're going to then go into the solution. And then if any bonus things come up, I'll save them for the end. All right, so this is the third or fourth challenge for CSS, basic CSS. And this is one of my favorites, is import a Google font. So in addition to specifying common fonts, so common fonts being things like New Times Roman, sans serif, monospace, things that are just built into the browser. In addition to specifying common fonts that are found on most operating systems, we can also specify a non-standard, aka exciting, custom web font for use on our website. There are many sources for web fonts on the internet. For this example, we will focus on the Google Fonts library. I use this all the time. I'm sure there's other sources, but I haven't really used them. Google Fonts is a free library of web fonts that you can use in your CSS by referencing the font's URL. So let's go ahead and import and apply a Google font. Note that if Google is blocked in your country, you will need to skip this challenge. Sorry. If you're in a country that blocks Google, I'm sorry. To import a Google font, you can copy the font's URL from the Google Fonts library and then paste it in your HTML. Import a Google font, this is important. You can copy the font's URL from Google Font Library and then paste it in your HTML. It's a copy and paste job, but you just gotta know where to put it. For this challenge, we'll import the Lobster font. To do this, copy the following code snippet and paste it into the top of your code editor before opening the style element. Okay. Now you can use the Lobster font by naming in your CSS by using Lobster as the family name, as in the following example. So they want us to put this link, this like reference import statement here. They want us to put it in the style, and they're saying that we can reference it later on using this font family thing. The generic name, family name, generic name, is optional and is a fallback font in case the other specified font is not available. This is covered in the next challenge. Family names are case sensitive and need to be wrapped in quotes. If there's a space in the name, need to be wrapped in quotes if there's a space in the name. For example, you need to use quotes to use the Open Sans font, but not to use the Lobster font. Import the Lobster font into your web page. Then use an element selector to set the Lobster as the font family for your H2 element. Okay, I am assuming you're new to programming. I'm going to make these windows a bit bigger here. All right, so if you're not used to looking at HTML, there's just a lot of kind of just like these ugly shapes that don't make any sense. Hopefully to make it easier to see, I'm going to really maximize the space here. Oops, I guess it doesn't want to. There we go. And so what we'll notice is that really all we have is just a bunch of pairs of open tag, close tag, and then some other stuff. And so it mentioned the style section. So we have style right here. And inside the style, we don't have HTML. Instead, we have CSS. This is our CSS. And so they want us to import a Google font. We're going to copy it from Google Fonts, or in this case, it looks like we already have the URL from Google Fonts, and paste it in your HTML. So we're pasting in our HTML, not our CSS. That's important. And so we're going to do it before the style element. So the open, close, this represents one element. Open, close, that's another element. So we're going to paste it before the style element. Okay, so now for the solution, which you probably may have already caught on to. All right, so we're just going to copy this right here. And we're going to paste it. Oh, wow. What even was that? I don't know. That's what happens when you live stream. All right. Paste it. There we go. So now we are importing, with this link, we're importing this font from Google. And so there's another step here. So we're supposed to import the font. We've done that successfully. Then we're going to use an element selector. Or that's not the element selector. This is an element selector. We're going to use an element selector to set the Lobster as the font family for your H2 element. So we want to add some code to our H2 elements. Now, in order to do that, we're going to say H2, and this selects all of the H2 elements. And so it's not letting me resize very well. And so in order to select the H2 element, just to prove that I can do this, font weight bold. Do light? We're gonna ignore this. It's not really doing what I thought it would do. But I promise it does cool stuff. All right, so, and maybe I selected something wrong, but we'll find out here when we run our tests after we get this all done. So we want to say, in this example, they have font family, get the family name, the generic name. Let's say we don't need to worry about the generic name for now. So font family. All right, and what's the name again? It's Lobster. Shout out to Jordan Peterson, if you know that reference. Lobster. Okay, cool. All right. Ooh, check that out. We got this really cool custom font that you wouldn't see elsewhere. Maybe something crazy. Okay, that's too crazy, Michael. I was just getting very enthusiastic because I want to see this font super big. All right, so that's the font that we imported from Google, and that will pass this challenge. We're going to run the tests. You should only use, oh, it doesn't like probably this. Let's try that again. Ta-da! All right. So we made it through the description and the solution, and now it's time for bonus content. And I kind of bit my tongue because I wanted to go off on a lot of bunny trails as we went through this, even though I did diverge a little. I wanted to just go to this Google reference. Interesting. And so what it gives us here is it gives us CSS, which I find to be very interesting. So the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to go to I want to just Google fonts, and I want to show you something else you can do with this. Google fonts. Okay. There are so many cool fonts in here, and they're very easy to use for your website. That you can use like a downloaded font, like an actual font file in a website. You can do that. It's just more steps to it, and this is very, very, very easy. So here's an interesting like handwritten scripty font. So we could download it, or just select the style. And so if we see in here, if you recognize this, and there's a lot of other words in there, but that's the link tag. That's the link tag right here. So Google is giving us something we can literally copy and paste into the website. And so, okay, once we copy and paste it, how do we actually use it? And it gives us the CSS rule here too. We can literally copy and paste this too. A lot of copy and pasting happening, or as my old launch code TA would say, copy pasta. All right, cool. So this gives us, let's make it bigger. Cat photo apps. That makes it bigger. That gave us a new font, and that was very easy. So if you'll notice, we have some radio dials right here of these two things. And if you look at this one, it's different. It has the style tags, kind of like how we have here. But instead of using the link tag, we're going to use this. All right, so I am going to delete this. And I'm going to delete this. Well, actually, I don't need to delete that. So in our style, in our CSS, we are also able to import. We are also able to import the Google fonts. And so this is useful, not so much when you have your CSS and your HTML all in the same section, all in the same place. But in the future, you'll be working on things where you're importing a CSS file, which is essentially just a file that has everything that's in between these style tags. You're importing that, and then you don't have that inside your HTML file, and that maybe it would make sense then to import the files inside the CSS file, right? Right now, it doesn't matter which way you go. And so that was my bonus content, a couple things that came up during this. So once again, if you watched this, I hope it was helpful. I know that right now I have zero watchers and 0 viewers, and I am still motivated as if I'm talking to people because that's how my brain works.